You're here right now because something feels off, doesn't it? One day, everything seemed fine, and then she just went quiet. No more texts lighting up your phone. No more late night calls that made you feel close. Yet here's what's really messing with your head. She didn't block you, didn't delete your photos together, didn't cut you off completely. She's still there, visible online, but emotionally silent. And that silence is loud, isn't it? It echoes in your mind with questions you can't stop asking yourself. Is she done with me? Has she moved on? Or is she waiting for me to reach out first? I get it, man. Because when someone you care about goes quiet without explanation, it's like standing in a dark room, trying to find the door. Every second of silence feels heavier. Every time you check your phone and see no message, the doubt grows bigger. You start replaying old conversations, wondering what you said or did wrong. It's confusing, it's frustrating, and it can make you feel powerless. But here's what I need you to hear right now. Just because she's silent doesn't mean you should start chasing shadows. It doesn't mean you should abandon your self-respect or your peace of mind trying to force an answer. In fact, the worst thing you can do in this moment is panic. Because when you chase someone who's not giving you clarity, you lose yourself in uncertainty. You hand over your power. Let me ask you something. Do you really want to build a connection that requires you to sacrifice your dignity every time things get quiet? Or do you want a relationship built on mutual respect, where silence doesn't turn into a mind game? Because here's the truth I've learned, both in my own experience and from helping countless men navigate this exact situation. Silence is either an opportunity for you to show your strength or a trap that exposes your insecurity. This moment right here, when she's not reaching out when you're unsure, is where you get to choose who you are. Will you become a man who spirals into desperation, flooding her inbox with "Are you okay?" and "Did I do something wrong?" Or will you be the man who stands steady, who keeps his life moving, who holds onto his dignity even when he doesn't have all the answers? Because the truth is, clarity doesn't come from chasing. It comes from staying present, observing what's real, and letting someone show you through actions, not words, where they stand. And your dignity? It's the one thing that can't be taken away unless you hand it over. So don't let confusion drive you to abandon yourself. As we move forward in this video, I'm going to help you break down what her silence really means, how to recognize the difference between a woman who's quietly observing you and one who's actually done, and most importantly, how you can respond with strength instead of desperation. Because clarity, dignity, and self-preservation aren't just words, they're your foundation. And when you stand on that foundation, no silence can shake you. Stay tuned. This is where you start to take back control, not over her, but over yourself. Let's talk about something that trips up even the strongest men: silence. When a woman goes quiet, it feels like a gut punch. The first thought racing through your mind is usually, it's over. She's done with me. But I want you to pause right there, because silence doesn't always mean goodbye. In fact, it often means something far more complex, and understanding this can change the entire game. You see, many men assume silence is a final verdict. But sometimes, her quiet isn't about leaving you. It's about watching you. It's about stepping back so she can truly see who you are when she's not giving you a constant validation or attention. Think about it. When someone's always texting, calling, or reassuring you, it's easy to hide your insecurities or cover up your neediness. But when the noise stops, your real character gets exposed, both to her and to yourself. That I've seen it time and again, both personally and in the stories men share with me. A woman who used to check in daily suddenly slows down. The mind goes into overdrive. Did I say something wrong? Did she meet someone else? Should I call her right now to clear the air? And before you know it, you're texting paragraphs, double messaging, even sending late night apologies for things you don't really understand. But here's the harsh truth. These reactions don't pull her closer. They confirm her fears about your emotional stability. Because here's what many men don't realize. Silence can be strategic. It can be intentional. Sometimes She's pulling back not because she's over you, but because she wants to see if you can stand strong without her constant attention. Will you chase her desperately, proving you're dependent on her presence for your self-worth? Or will you stay centered, showing that your sense of identity doesn't hinge on her replies? Let me share a perspective that changed everything for me. Silence is not empty. It's filled with meaning. It's a space where both people get a chance to see the truth. For her, it's a chance to find out if the man she's interested in is as confident and composed alone as he appeared when things were easy. And for you, it's a chance to prove, first and foremost to yourself, that you don't need anyone else to feel complete. Let me ask you, have you ever been in a situation where someone suddenly pulled away, and instead of staying calm, you panicked? Maybe you started checking her social media every hour, replaying your last conversations, even imagining scenarios that never happened. How did that work out? Chances are it pushed her further away or left you feeling worse about yourself. That here's what most men miss. When a woman goes silent, it can actually be an invitation to rise, not an excuse to crumble. Her silence gives her power, yes, but it also gives you a choice. She's quietly asking, who are you when I'm not there? Are you the kind of man who needs constant reassurance to feel secure? Or are you the kind of man who keeps moving forward, building his life with or without her? Remember, silence reveals more than words ever could. It shows her how much control you have over your emotions, and whether you're grounded in who you are or swayed by every shift in her attention. So instead of fearing silence, respect it. Use it. Let it sharpen your awareness, strengthen your patience, and build your composure. Because the man who can stay steady in the quiet moments is the man who commands respect and keeps his own power no matter what happens next. Let's break down one of the most important truths you'll ever learn about relationships. When a woman truly decides she's done, you won't be left guessing. There will be no subtle hints or cryptic posts. She'll make her decision crystal clear. She'll block your number, delete your photos, unfriend you, and scrub every digital trace of your existence from her life. This is what finality looks like. It's decisive, loud, and unambiguous. It's her way of telling you, there's no coming back from here. I want you to really think about this. Have you ever had a woman do exactly that? Did she cut off every possible way for you to see or contact her? If so, as painful as it is, at least you know where you stand. There's closure, even if it stings. But what about when she doesn't do those things? What about when she's still there, still watching your stories, still leaving your pictures up on her profile, maybe even posting a quote about heartbreak or sharing a song you both loved? That's not forgetfulness. That's intentional. That's emotional presence. It's her way of staying connected without having to pick up the phone. And here's what you need to understand. Those breadcrumbs aren't random. She's choosing to leave them behind. Every nostalgic photo, every quote about lost love, every sad lyric. It's like she's whispering, I'm still here, but I'm not ready to talk. But this is where a lot of men go wrong. They see these signs and think it's a green light to rush in, to start bombarding her with messages, to demand clarity. Don't do it. Because when you chase these subtle traces too aggressively, you destroy the very power and mystery that her silence has created. Remember, these signs are invitations for you to recognize her presence, not commands for you to break yours. Here's a perspective I wish someone had told me years ago. The difference between a woman who's completely done and one who's still emotionally connected is night and day. A woman who wants nothing to do with you makes it impossible for you to linger in her world. She burns the bridge. But a woman who still feels something, even if it's complicated, keeps the door slightly open. She lets you see glimpses of her thoughts and feelings through carefully chosen posts or subtle interactions. When you notice these signs, ask yourself, is she showing you the finality of her decision, or is she quietly revealing that part of her is still holding on? If it's the latter, don't let your ego or fear push you into chasing. Instead, acknowledge the signs for what they are, a signal that the connection isn't completely severed, and then return to your life, your purpose, your growth. Because here's the hard but empowering truth. You can't force her to open up before she's ready. And if you try, you'll only look desperate, which will confirm her worst fears about your stability. The man who can see the signs, appreciate them, and still stay grounded is the man who keeps his power. And often the man who, if there's any chance of reconciliation, she'll feel drawn back to. Oh, don't mistake her digital breadcrumbs for an open invitation to storm back into her life. Recognize them as emotional signals, yes, but stay patient, stay focused, stay you. Because in the world of modern relationships, the man who doesn't flinch at mixed signals is the man who stands out, strong, calm, and unforgettable. Let's talk about one of the most misunderstood dynamics in modern relationships: strategic silence. Because here's what most men don't realize. When a woman suddenly goes quiet, it doesn't always mean she's pulling away for good. Sometimes she's creating space on purpose, testing the waters, and watching to see how you'll respond when her constant attention disappears. Think about this for a second. Why would someone who's done with you still check your stories, like your old posts, or drop quotes that feel like they're aimed straight at your heart? If she truly wanted to close the chapter, she'd slam the book shut. But when she stays connected in subtle ways, it's because she's not entirely sure yet. This silence is calculated. It's layered with emotion, uncertainty, and yes, a desire to see your true colors that I know that's a tough pill to swallow. But it's important. Because here's the real purpose of strategic silence. It's a psychological test. She wants to know, are you a man who spirals into desperation the moment you lose her attention? Or are you someone who stays calm, composed, and confident no matter what? Let me paint a picture for you. She used to text every morning, but now your phone stays quiet. She still views your stories, maybe even lingers on them. She likes a post you made weeks ago, maybe one that shows you at your best, traveling, laughing, achieving something. Then she posts something cryptic, a quote about heartbreak, a line from a sad song. You feel like it's all about you, and maybe it is, but what do you do next? Most men, driven by panic, start flooding her inbox with messages. Did I do something wrong? Are you okay? I miss you. They think showing how much they care will fix the silence. But in reality, it only confirms what she's testing for, that you need her presence to feel secure. And once she sees that, her doubts about your emotional stability grow to oh, here's what you need to remember. The real test of a man is not how he behaves when things are going perfectly, but how he holds himself when the energy shifts. Strategic silence is her way of observing if you're strong enough to stay grounded in uncertainty. Will you chase validation, or will you keep living your life with purpose, proving that your worth isn't tied to her immediate attention? I've been there myself. I felt that urge to reach out, to get some kind of response, to break the tension with words. But every time I resisted that urge and focused on my own path, on my health, my goals, my friendships, I grew stronger. And that growth did something powerful. It showed her, and more importantly myself, that I didn't need her to complete me. Because here's the secret: silence doesn't have to break you. It can make you, but only if you let it. Instead of reacting with desperation, let the silence teach you patience. Let it sharpen your self-awareness. Let it show you where your insecurities live so you can face them head on. Because the man who can stand tall and unshaken in the middle of emotional distance is the man who commands respect. Whether she comes back or not. When you sense her strategic silence, don't panic. Don't rush in trying to prove your feelings. Show her, through your calm presence, that you don't need constant communication to stay centered. And remember, every time you choose composure over chaos, you're not just passing her test. You're becoming the kind of man who's unshakable in a world full of emotional noise. Let's talk about what separates a man who thrives under pressure from a man who crumbles: the stoic response. Because here's the raw truth: when she goes silent, it hurts. It stirs up fear, confusion, even panic. But feeling pain doesn't make you weak. It's what you do with that pain that defines you. In a stoic man, The kind of man who earns deep respect, feels every bit of that sting, but doesn't let it dictate his actions. Have you ever been in that moment where your mind is screaming, "Text her, fix this, get her attention"? That moment where your fingers hover over your phone, tempted to send a long, emotional message, pouring out everything you feel, hoping it'll pull her back? I've been there too, and let me tell you, acting on that impulse only makes things worse, because it hands your power, your peace, and your dignity over to someone else that a stoic man knows better. He understands a fundamental truth. Silence isn't a void that needs to be filled. It's an answer in itself. Her quiet is telling you something. Maybe that she's unsure, maybe that she's processing, or maybe that she's testing your strength. Either way, your job isn't to break the silence with desperate words. Your job is to wait, observe, and reflect. Because in those quiet moments, you learn more about yourself than you ever could when things are easy. Let me ask you, do you want to be the man who reacts to every shift in someone else's mood? Or do you want to be the man who holds his frame, stays calm, and shows that his worth isn't up for negotiation? Because here's what's powerful. When you don't seek validation through her response, when you don't measure your confidence by whether she replies or not, you show her, in yourself, that your identity isn't built on her attention, that a stoic man doesn't send late-night paragraphs trying to explain himself. He doesn't stalk her social media, looking for hidden meanings in every post. He doesn't beg for closure. He knows that closure isn't something you're given. It's something you create by standing firm in your own values, no matter what's happening around you. You see stability, patience, and a sense of self-worth that doesn't depend on her reactions are what truly separate a man who's strong from a man who's needy. When you can sit with the discomfort of uncertainty and still live your life with purpose, when you can feel the chaos inside but act with quiet confidence, that's when you become unforgettable. Not because you chased, but because you proved you don't need to. Here's what I've learned from my own experience and from helping men all over the world. A woman may forget the words you said, but she'll never forget how you made her feel. And nothing is more attractive than a man who stays grounded when everything around him feels shaky. A man who doesn't need constant reassurance to stay steady. A man who chooses reflection over reaction the next time you're tempted to break the silence just to ease your own anxiety. Remember, true power comes from restraint. Hold your frame. Let her see that you're the kind of man who can weather emotional storms without losing himself. Because in the end, the man who doesn't flinch in silence is the man who commands the deepest respect, and often the one she realizes was worth holding on to all along. Let's peel back the curtain on what's really going on when a woman goes silent. Because too many men assume silence is cold, heartless, or a game meant to punish. But the truth? More often than not, her silence is rooted in something far deeper. Fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of being vulnerable. Fear of hearing something she's not ready to face. Think about it. When you care about someone but worry that reaching out might lead to disappointment or rejection, what do? Do you boldly call them up and pour your heart out? Or do you hesitate, waiting for a safer moment that never seems to come? Women experience the same storm of emotions, especially after conflict or when a relationship feels shaky. And in that emotional chaos, silence can feel like the only shield she has left. But here's the key. Silence doesn't mean she's disconnected. In fact, many times it's quite the opposite. She's still emotionally invested, but too scared to make a direct move. So instead, she leaves breadcrumbs. She posts a quote about heartbreak that echoes your last conversation. She shares a song you both used to love. She views your stories, but never says a word. These subtle signs are her way of staying present in your world without having to risk outright rejection by sending a text she's terrified you won't answer. That I've seen this countless times. Not just in relationships I've had, but in stories men have shared with me. One guy told me how his ex would post lyrics from the exact songs they listened to on road trips, even months after the breakup. Another noticed his ex liking old photos from their time together, just enough to let him know she hadn't completely moved on. And here's the thing, these aren't coincidences. These are coded messages, emotional signals that say, I'm still here, but I don't know how to reach out. This creates what I call a psychological in-between. She's not fully gone, but she's not fully there either. It's an emotional limbo where she's connected enough to care, but hesitant enough to protect herself. And that limbo can drive you crazy if you don't understand what's happening beneath the surface. Let me ask you, how do you react when you see these signs? Do you start overanalyzing every post, every song, every view of your story? Or do you stay centered, recognizing that her indirect actions are about her own struggle, not a demand for you to chase? Because here's the truth. When you see her silence for what it is, a self-protection mechanism, you stop taking it personally. You stop letting it control your peace of mind. Her silence isn't about punishing you. It's about shielding herself from a pain she's not ready to face. And the worst thing you can do is rush in with desperate energy, trying to force a conversation before she's ready. The best thing you can do? Give her space. Let her process her emotions on her timeline, while you stay focused on your own growth. Because when you don't let her fear create chaos in you, you show a strength that's rare and deeply attractive. Remember this. Understanding the psychology behind her silence isn't about playing games or outsmarting her. It's about compassion. It's about recognizing her vulnerability and responding with patience instead of panic. Because a man who can see beyond the silence, who can read the emotional code without trying to force it open, is a man who stands out, not just as a partner, but as a strong, grounded human being. Let's talk about something almost every man has seen, but few truly understand: emotional breadcrumbs. Because when a woman goes silent, yet keeps leaving subtle hints behind, it's easy to either overlook them completely or misread them in ways that lead to desperate mistakes. But if you know what to look for and how to respond, you can stay grounded and even find peace in the uncertainty. First, what do emotional breadcrumbs actually look like? They're those quiet, seemingly small actions that signal she's still emotionally connected, even if she won't say it out loud. One of the clearest signs is when she keeps watching your stories. Not just once or twice, but consistently, day after day. If she's not interested at all, she'd simply stop looking. But by staying tuned into your life, even silently, she's telling you she still cares what you're doing. Another powerful breadcrumb? When she likes old posts, especially those with personal meaning. Maybe it's a picture from a trip you took together, or a quote you once sent her when times were good. When she goes back weeks or months in your timeline to engage with something connected to your past, it's not an accident. It's her way of knocking on your digital door, reminding you and herself that those moments still matter. Then there's the classic emotional code. Posts, songs, or quotes that feel like they were pulled straight from your shared memories. Maybe she posts a lyric from your favorite song as a couple, or she shares a quote about heartbreak that mirrors your last conversation. These aren't just random updates. They're signals sent with the hope that you'll notice. They're her way of saying, I'm still here, but I don't know how to reach out directly. But here's where so many men slip up. They see these breadcrumbs and think, she wants me to chase her. She's invited me back in. And they rush in, sending a flood of messages, trying to restart the connection with emotional urgency. The result? They come off as desperate, confirming her fears that they haven't truly grown or found their center. Let me offer a different perspective, one I've learned the hard way. The real power isn't in chasing these breadcrumbs. It's in recognizing them without letting them control you. When you see her watching, liking, or posting things that hint at your past, pause. Remind yourself that her actions reflect her own internal struggle, not a clear invitation. Your job is to stay calm, stay patient, and let her signs exist without needing to immediately respond. Ask yourself this. What does it say about you if you can observe these signals without feeling the urge to break your own peace? What does it show about your growth if you can see she's still emotionally invested, yet remain focused on your own path? Because that level of composure, of watching without reacting emotionally, is what makes you magnetic, grounded, and deeply respected. Remember, emotional breadcrumbs don't guarantee she's ready to talk. They don't mean she wants you to chase. They simply mean she hasn't let go completely. And by recognizing these signs for what they are, without letting them dictate your actions, you prove to yourself, and eventually to her, that you're no longer ruled by uncertainty. You're led by strength. So the next time you see her name in your story viewers, or notice a like on an old memory, take it as a quiet reminder you're still on her mind. But let that fuel your patience, not your desperation. Because the man who can observe without flinching is the man who stands out in a world full of emotional chaos. Now let's talk about something that doesn't get nearly enough attention: the gift hidden in the silence. Because as painful as it feels when she goes quiet, there's a unique opportunity buried inside that silence. An opportunity for you to grow into the strongest, most grounded version of yourself. Think about it. When she stops texting, when the calls fade, and you're left alone with your thoughts. Who are you? Who are you when there's no one to validate you? When no one is giving you compliments or checking in on your day? That question, who am I without her, isn't just a thought to brush aside. It's the key to your transformation. Because this is where true growth happens. In the moments when you have to choose peace over panic, discipline over desperation, confidence over chaos. When you learn to sit with the discomfort of uncertainty and still keep your head up, you build emotional muscle. And that kind of strength doesn't just make you more attractive to her or to any woman. It makes you unstoppable in every area of your life. That I've been in that silence myself. I know what it's like to wake up and instinctively check your phone, hoping to see your name pop up. I know how it feels when days go by with nothing but echoes of the past running through your mind. But I also know that every time I chose to redirect my focus toward my health, my career, my passions, I became someone I was proud of. Someone who didn't need her messages to feel valuable to this. Oh, let me ask you, right now, are you spending your energy wondering, how do I get her back? Or are you asking yourself the more important question, who am I becoming through this? Because the first question keeps you stuck in the past, trapped in a cycle of anxiety and neediness. But the second question sets you free. It shifts your focus from what's outside your control, her choices, to what's fully within your hands, your own evolution. Every time you resist the urge to text just for reassurance, every time you choose to go to the gym instead of scroll through her profile, every time you spend time learning, creating, or connecting with people who lift you up, you're laying the foundation of a stronger, more resilient you. You're proving to yourself that you don't just survive in silence, you thrive in it. And here's the beautiful part. Whether she eventually reaches out or not, you win. Because you become a man who's centered, focused, and confident. Someone who doesn't need constant attention to feel worthy. And that kind of man is magnetic not only to her, but to everyone around him. Remember this, the silence she left you with isn't a prison sentence. It's a proving ground. It's a chance to become the man you've always wanted to be. A man who doesn't just react, but responds with purpose. A man who doesn't crumble in the face of uncertainty, but stands tall, knowing his worth isn't tied to someone else's words or actions. Stop asking when she'll come back. Start asking how you can use this moment to become the best version of yourself. Because the man who grows through silence, who builds himself quietly when no one is watching, is the man who can't be broken, no matter what the world throws at him. And that, my friend, is the man you're capable of becoming right now. Now let's get to the heart of why staying calm during silence is so powerful, and how it naturally shifts the balance of energy between you and her. Because the moment you stop reacting out of fear or desperation, something incredible happens. You regain control over yourself, and with it, you earn a respect that no amount of words could ever buy. You see, most men believe power in relationships comes from chasing, convincing, or proving themselves. But real power, the kind that lasts, is quiet. It comes from being able to sit in uncertainty without losing your center. It comes from knowing that your value doesn't rise and fall with someone else's attention. When you can stay composed while everything feels up in the air, you send a silent but unmistakable message. I'm grounded. I'm whole. I'm not defined by your response, and this isn't manipulation. It's not about playing games or pretending you don't care. It's about showing real emotional maturity. Because here's the truth, whether consciously or not, people are drawn to those who can stay calm in the storm. It's a rare trait. Most people panic, overthink, and act impulsively when they feel out of control. But when you stand firm, you become a lighthouse in someone else's chaos. Let me share something from my own experience. I once went through a breakup where the silence felt deafening. My first instinct was to fix it immediately, to reach out and do whatever it took to make the discomfort go away. But instead, I chose to lean into that silence. I focused on my life, my fitness, my work, my friendships. I stayed busy building myself. And the craziest thing happened. Not only did I start to feel stronger than ever, but when she eventually did reach out, the dynamic had completely changed. I wasn't waiting by the phone. I wasn't desperate. And that energy spoke louder than any message I could have sent, even if she never came back. And sometimes they don't. The growth I experienced during that time was mine forever. I discovered a level of confidence and self-belief I'd never felt before. That's what I want for you. Because whether she comes back or not shouldn't define your success. What matters is who you become in the silence, and what you choose to build while you wait. Stability, clarity, and self-belief are what make you unforgettable. Not just to her, but to anyone who crosses your path. People sense it when you've done the inner work, when you don't flinch at uncertainty, when you don't need external validation to know your worth. That kind of presence is magnetic. It commands respect. It makes you a better partner, a better friend, a better M.S.O. if you're in the middle of silence right now. Don't see it as wasted time or something to endure. See it as your opportunity to create a power shift. Not by forcing her to react, but by transforming yourself into the kind of man who doesn't need to chase. Because the man who can stay calm in the storm isn't just strong, he's unforgettable. And whether she returns or not, that power can never be taken away from you. All right, let's bring this all together, because after everything we've covered, there's one final, crucial choice you have to make. A choice that will define not only what happens next in your relationship, but more importantly, who you become in the process. When you're faced with silence, when the person you care about pulls back or leaves you in the dark, it's easy, almost instinctive, to react impulsively, to send that late-night text, to pour out your feelings in a rush, to chase clarity at all costs. But here's what you need to remember. Impulsive reactions come from fear, not strength. They come from the desperate need to regain control. And every time you let fear drive your actions, you surrender your power. Instead, I'm challenging you to do something different, something uncommon. Respond with character. Respond with patience. Respond with the quiet confidence that says, I know who I am, and I don't need to prove it to anyone. Because that's the real mark of a man who can weather emotional storms without losing himself. Right now, every man watching this has two paths in front of him. The first path is the most tempting. Chase what's unclear. Obsess over her every move. Try to decode every quote she posts. Live in constant anxiety, hoping she'll send that one message that makes everything better. But the second path, that's the one that changes everything. The second path is about building something unshakable inside yourself, focusing on your own growth, strengthening your mind, your body, your purpose, creating a life so fulfilling that silence no longer scares you because you know your worth doesn't come from someone else's words. And let me tell you from experience, true power doesn't come from forcing answers out of someone. It comes from becoming a man who's so grounded, so complete, that he no longer needs those answers to feel at peace. It's when you choose growth over grasping, purpose over panic, presence over performance. That's when you step into a version of yourself no one can ignore. Oh, here's my final question for you. Who are you going to be from this moment on? The man who keeps chasing shadows, or the man who turns this challenge into the fuel that forges his strength? As we close out this video, remember this. Don't just wait for clarity from someone else. Create it within yourself. Don't just react, respond with intention. Don't just survive the silence. Use it to rise. And if this message helped you today, if it gave you the perspective or strength you needed, support this community. Because when you do, you're not just changing your life, you're helping another man, somewhere out there, find his way through the darkness too. Stay present, stay powerful, and above all, stay you.